Okay. So we're not, you've got 5 minutes, but at this point, Mr. Buttery has been gracious enough that he will pass out any papers if you'd like to write a question. When you're finished, we're going to take about 10 minutes during the beginning of this for you to write questions. We'll collect those. They'll be given back to me. We'll vet those questions. So hopefully you have ink pens because our ink pens quit working. So I'm sure somebody will share ink pens, right? Absolutely. Thanks, Suzanne. Okay, raise your hand if you'd like a paper as far as to write a question. Sorry, Frank. Yeah, that's so the last one, I don't even think that's right. Did they change? I assume it fixed it. Remember, we were introduction. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it's very important that we share with you the reason that the seats are set up as they are. They're strategically set up so that for safety reasons. So if there's an emergency and we have to exit, there is an exit to my left out that door. And there's an exit. I feel like I'm on an airplane. Oh, this is cool. There's an exit out this way and then to the right. So please, I know you may want to move your chair, but they are set up strategically for safety reasons. So bear with us on that. You have 3 minutes, you can talk. Or go to the bathroom, candidates. Candidates remain here in case of an emergency. I guess candidates, you go out that door.
Introduction of yourself, and I'm going to do a very quick introduction myself.
Yep. And you know how to work this. Yes, because if not, I'm coming from the back, Steve, and I have a cane, and it goes like this.
Today I will.
Okay, remember, the chairs are strategically placed. If you have an open seat next to you, we have some people back here that would like to have a chair. Raise your hand if there's a seat next to you. Okay. There's one seat up here in front. It's like church. Nobody wants to sit in the front row. There's a seat back here and a seat up here and a seat over there. Okay. Okay. So Eric, once you begin filming, we'll start. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Isn't this exciting? I'm so excited. There was sunshine, no snow. This is great. Crowd's full. I see elected officials from the city. I see elected officials from the county. I see other concerned citizens that are here tonight to attend and listen to our candidates who are running for the mayor's position and city council position for the city of Woodland Park. I'm Debbie Miller. I'm president with the Greater Woodland Park Chamber. And we have now been doing these candidates forums for 19 years. And we're so thrilled to partner and be able to do this, to be able to utilize the city council chambers to be able to hold this as well. So this evening, I want to introduce two of my chamber board members who will actually be running the show. Now, they know I'll be standing in the back, and they know that if they veer off script, you're going to see me run and whisper in their ear, "No, you can't do that," kind of thing. We're testing them out tonight, and we're going to see if they can handle these positions. But with me tonight is my chairman this year, Mark Maruzak with Cross First Bank. Mark. And then we also, thank you. So Mark is to make sure that the time works and to keep our moderator for the evening on track as well. So our moderator for the evening is my past chair, Steve Wolf. So Mr. Buttery, David Buttery, has been handing out papers for questions from the audience. We will accept questions that way. The questions will be vetted, and if we have time, we will then forward them up to our moderator as well. Our venue is being live streamed on Zoom this evening, and it is being taped, so we will be able to have it up on video tomorrow, I believe. I see the head shake, so that's going to happen. No questions will be coming from the streaming audience that's watching this evening. We do have an option where we will turn over to the press, and we will ask the press to ask their questions as well. We do ask that you hold your applause until the end of the event. We have 10 candidates that deserve all the time that we've devoted this evening to be able to answer these questions and to be able to do their opening and closing statements without any kind of an interruption. So at this point, everyone here knows how to use their microphone, correct? I see that nod. Everyone here is ready to get started, right? All right. So Steve, with that, I'm turning it over to you.
All right, thank you. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Wolf. I'm former superintendent of schools and now run a nonprofit called Wild Heart Teacher. And it's a privilege to be here tonight. And I've been warned on pain of death and beatings to stick to the script, so I will do so as much as possible. Hey, when I begin, the same two questions will be asked of all of you. Then we will enter into the issues questions. After our first 10 questions, I will entertain written questions from the press. Again, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute to respond. Lastly, if we have time, I will entertain questions that have been vetted from the audience. Finally, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. I ask the candidates to be respectful of both the timekeeper and the other candidates. Any questions before we go? We will begin the 2-minute introductions with Frank Connors.
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you to the forum organizers and the citizens present. I appreciate it. It seems just yesterday that I was elected, but in reality, it was almost 2 years ago, surprising me and a lot of other people. But we have done some good stuff here on the dais and off the dais, so I'd like to just discuss a few of them. I was honored to represent the city in many ways. As a veteran liaison official, I was proud to attend many of the memorials and military functions. But my proudest accomplishment was presenting the Purple Heart City designation as a request to our city council, which they approved. The Purple Heart Trail is sponsored by our own Purple Heart, Captain John Bartlett. He now has sponsors from Teller County and beyond, with over 80 signs in Teller County alone to represent the Purple Heart Trail. We've done some fun things too. We did the Vibes baseball game. We had Woodland Park night at the ballpark, even with fireworks. So for those who attended, it was really a good time. We've also approved the new reservoir for our water security. We're moving forward on our open plan with Avenger Open Space, generations of enjoyment for our open space and the people who walk and hike there. As an Eagle Scout, I fully support the continued effort to expand our open space. The council approved a property tax reduction, a credit of 3 mills. I'm going to try my best to keep that for next year. And last, I'm running again to focus on the future. I'm sorry,
You're good.
we don't do this in our meetings. I'm running again to focus on the future and benefit of our city, and I will continue to put the hours in to do the work that is required. Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
was Seth
Frank.
being first.
Steve Smith.
Welcome, and thanks for holding this forum. I am Steve Smith, and I am a resident of Woodland Park for the past 32 years. I moved here because of the hometown feeling and the care and love that this city once was. I'd like to get that back into the community where we can go to the store and be like we are, a community, all for one. Through my accomplishments in the past 32 years of being here, I was a coach at the high school for football and wrestling. We took the first time ever, took the team to state. And we've had numerous state qualifiers. Also, in my community services, with working with the kids, I also helped build the park that's over there at Gateway when it was first there. I've done numerous events and organizations that I'm with. We've raised millions of dollars for academic scholarships and band camps and just a wide variety of things. The reason why I am running is because our community asked me to. Because I said, well, why do you want me to run? Because we need a person just like you, one that's fair, one that's honest, and one that can't be driven by ideal things. I don't have any political agendas. I don't have any religious agendas. My full agenda is our community and what we can do as a community to get things back to where we liked it.
Thank you, Steve. Terry Baldwin.
Good evening. I'm Terry Baldwin, and I'm here to build bridges and find solutions. First, thank you to the Chamber and Debbie Miller for hosting this event and to Steve Wolf for moderating. I'm running for Woodland Park City Council because I believe we need fresh voices that bring us together. We need better teamwork among City Council members, improved dialogue and transparency between the council and our community. I'll foster an environment of open communication, tough conversations, and ultimately compromise to do what's best for the citizens of Woodland Park. My professional background is in law, mental health, and education, where communication skills and collaboration are necessary for success. I can use these skills to make a difference on council and for Woodland Park. I don't think we're finished with the STR issue, but during the next 2 years, we'll be able to evaluate how well the new ordinance is working, and if we need to adjust things, we can. Property rights matter. And while some with noisy rental neighbors might feel relieved, many others who rely on jobs and income provided by those rentals have lost out. I took the time to look into both sides of the issue. And now for the elephant in the room. Charis Bible College is here to stay. It's disappointing that Andrew Womack didn't honor his agreement to allow the temporary housing. to be privatized so that it could be taxed by the city. That would have been around $3.5 million over an 11-year period for our city. And I'm sorry, but a check for $250,000 is not enough. If we are to coexist in the city, it would go a long way if Karis would show more support for our systems and infrastructure like water and public safety, and maybe recognize that these huge complexes they have built and want to continue building are disrupting our wildlife and our resources. And with the added traffic, our peace.
Thank
I
you,
look
Terry.
forward to tonight's questions and candidate answers because I believe it'll help you make a decision about who you want on your council.
Terry, thank you.
Sorry.
George Jones.
Hi, you're totally good. Hi, everybody. George Jones. Thank you, Steve and Mark, and Deb Miller and all of you for attending. I've been a resident for 7 years, actually. I'm a commercial property owner. I'm a residential property owner. I've co-founded, and I kind of do that slightly because my wife's really the one who's driven 2 businesses in the downtown. I believe this town needs experienced, committed, visionary people running a woodland park that is at an inflection point, a woodland park that is staring at commercial growth, for one. We're staring down at college growth as well, taxing on our resources. And believe it or not, we're eventually going to have a reliever route. We will. And so our downtown needs to be ready for that. We can't just all of a sudden start, once CDOT commits that, we can't be scrambling to figure out what to do. So I think from a visionary perspective and an experience perspective, I can be that candidate or that council member for you. From an experience perspective, I'm on planning today. I also served on the charter review. From a committed perspective, I mentioned that I'm invested in this downtown. I'm invested in this town. And visionary, thank you, Mark. Visionary wise, I have a number of things that I've posted, that I've talked about, and I'm happy to talk with you individually on some of the things, especially the downtown area, businesses that are coming in, and Main Street. I always want to talk about Main Street. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, George. Don DeZella.
Hi, thank you. And thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event tonight. I'm a 33-year resident of Woodland Park and have been active here in many roles. I've managed several businesses here in town. Right now, I'm a hourly manager with Walmart. My civic involvement in town has included serving on the Pikes Peak Rotary Club. I was the chairman of one of the first chairmen of their scholarship committee and helped get that started up here. I chaired a subcommittee on the 2030 comprehensive plan for Woodland Park. I'm a graduate of the Woodland Park Citizens Academy. I served on the 2022 City Charter Review Committee, and I currently serve on the Planning Commission and on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I also serve on the board of Dayspring Christian Foundation, which is a local nonprofit. Why am I running for council? Because it's vital to have candidates who are concerned and knowledgeable to represent the citizens and shareholders of Woodland Park. I have attended city council meetings and work sessions for the last 6 years on a regular basis, giving me knowledge of council history and procedures. When elected, I will work at fostering an environment of transparency, respectfulness, cooperation, and integrity. I will treat citizens, stakeholders, council members, city staff with respect and listen to their point of view. My decisions will be based on information provided by the staff to all the council members and public comment and whether or not it's the proper role of government. And thank you.
Thank you, Don. Jerry Penland.
I've been your citizen advocate for 2 to 3 years, leading the successful grassroots campaign to limit short-term rentals in our residential neighborhoods. For years, you've seen me walking inside City Hall, talking to the staff, giving presentations at city council meetings. You've also seen me at planning commission meetings as a planning commissioner for 5 years. Before retiring and moving to Woodland Park, I worked in over 30 countries, Japan, Korea, the US, of course, and all across Europe while living in Europe for 10 years. I've flown around the world and worked in the Republic of Panama, Puerto Rico, and Saudi Arabia. I've seen how national and international cities have tried to solve their unique problems, some successful, some really bad. My extensive experience doesn't stop at the Woodland Park city limits. I bring more to these seats up here than just years of local experience. For decades, I was in the middle of executing multi-million-dollar operating budgets up to and over $50 million, greater than any of our city budgets. I was a program manager for over 30 years. During that time, I was responsible for over $25 billion of your taxpayers' money, designing and constructing military facilities. I was a chief negotiator for contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I learned to work with extremely diverse people who brought ideas to the table that I never thought about. That's why I'm passionate about giving the people a stronger voice. I can be your advocate up here when making decisions that affect you and our city. Your voice matters much more than any voice that comes from up here. Now, a couple of words about what I am not. I am not a developer, not a realtor, not a business owner, nor do I have any association with Caris or its affiliates. I have zero ties to
Thank you,
any
Jerry.
special interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Eric Lockman.
Yes, thank you, Chamber. Thank you. Thank you. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you, Chamber. Thank you, citizens, for showing up. I'm honored to be here tonight as one of the candidates running for City Council. I'm a patriot and I'm driven by a genuine desire to contribute and serve the people around me and would be honored to serve Woodland Park and the City Council. I've been married to my wife, a Colorado native, for 18 years, and I'm a father of 4 amazing children. As a parent of growing children, As a parent of growing children, I am committed to promote policies and address concerns of all ages. I have nearly 25 years of experience as an engineer and an entrepreneur. I am trained to quickly analyze and find the root cause of a problem and to provide solutions. In today's divisive political climate, it's easy to focus on what sets us apart. But I firmly believe that true progress comes from seeking common ground and working together towards shared goals. That's why I am committed to always come to the table to understand and respect different opinions. I stand for fiscal responsibility, efficient government, and policies that promote prosperity and opportunity for every member of our community while preserving our small mountain town feel that we all cherish. I believe in empowering individuals and businesses to thrive while also ensuring that our city remains a safe, clean, and vibrant place to work, to raise a family, and to grow old. But perhaps most importantly, I believe in listening to the concerns and aspirations of each and every one of you. Because true representation means being accessible, approachable, and responsive to the needs of citizens. Together, we can work to find common sense solutions that benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Kelly Case.
Thank you, Steve. Mark, thank you for being here. And Debbie, thank you as usual for putting this together. Thanks everyone for being here and for your support over the years. I'm Kelly Case. I'm the current Mayor Pro Tem on the City Council in my 6th year of service on the council. A little bit about me. I don't write remarks. I talk from my heart. So this is impromptu. I've worked either as staff or otherwise as an elected official for the city of Woodland Park for 26 years. I'm a 6th-generation native of Colorado. So everything in this state is near and dear to my heart. I try to do the very best I can for all of you, weighing many different options, making votes that I really wish I didn't have to make, voting and wishing I could do it again and maybe change my mind. It's not an easy position to take on. And so I'm very proud to see as many people up here willing to serve as we have. It's a thankless job, but one that I'm certainly willing to do. And I look forward to working with the successful candidates up here with us today and making a difference for this community. We've done some great things over the 6 years I've been here and many years before that. Thank you, Mark. And I just think we can continue the work that we're doing. I assure you, there's been comments in the paper and things, but I assure you that I do not have a special interest. The only special interest I have is the community and the citizens that live here. And so I look forward to serving you over the next 2 years, either as just your city council person or as mayor of this wonderful community. So thanks everybody for being here and look forward to the questions.
Thank you, Kelly. Tim Northrup.
There it goes. We went. Thank you, Chamber, for hosting and for all the citizens here and online. Thank you so much. That's a pleasure. And for all you guys being involved, this is an awesome crowd. Over the past year or so, I've spoken to over 1,000 neighbors and citizens in this city. And they've been sharing their concerns with me. And so I've been listening to the concerns and I've been bringing those concerns up to city council, sharing those concerns with the city council and making sure that they've heard and that they're listening. So it's my passion to continue to serve and to continue to listen and be a voice for the citizens, a citizen's advocate for this city. I've also been attending Netco Fire Department meetings. You know, that's one of a very critical organizations we have in this town, considering the climate we have. And thankfully, it looks like that they're, just this morning, it looks like they were going to get a grant from the fire department. So it sounds like the city and the fire department are starting to listen to each other and move forward on some things. So that's very encouraging to hear. There used to be regular meetings, quarterly meetings between city and other entities in this town as well. And I want to be involved in getting those meetings back together so that we're not working in silos, it seems like. But, and I know this has been an issue in the past, but that's my desire to really move forward with that. I was an election watcher and a judge also in the last city election and the county elections. And I guess you can tell that's my detail-oriented mind to go ahead and move, you know, and get those interested as well. I've been reviewing the packets from the city councils, and there was a contract that was an issue one time, and I worked with the city manager and got that done. And the next meeting, he made the changes. So thank you. I've been, feel like I'm already working for the city and I'll continue to do so.
Thank you, Tim. Jeffrey Gear.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to take an opportunity to thank the chamber. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Mark. Also like to take an opportunity to thank my family for being here tonight. I find this community really awesome in a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, right now, we're dealing with a little bit of a temperature problem. My goal, should you choose to elect me, is to figure out a way to foster more collaboration between all the different groups that, you know, maybe aren't getting along as well these days as we'd like them to be. You know, Woodland Park is really unique and special in so many different ways, and it really kills me to see a lot of the challenges that we're all dealing with. But on top of that, you know, we have unique challenges as a community that we need to begin to address. You know, Frank mentioned the reservoir, water security, the quality of our infrastructure, our streets. I see a lot of people on Facebook all the time, especially this time of the year, asking, you know, why do we have so many potholes? There are things that this community expects out of its city, and there are things that this city should be delivering to its community. So if you choose to elect me, I can guarantee you that I will do everything I can to foster an environment of collaboration, an environment of cooperation. And like most of the people up here, you know, I'm not dictated or guided by any special interests or influences or whatever. Just a regular family man who has a regular 8 to 5 job Monday through Friday, who's just trying to help out this community and do the best that he can. So I really thank everyone for being here tonight. Really thank everyone for listening online. And thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So the next 2 questions will be, everyone will have an opportunity to answer, and you'll get 1 minute to answer. Beyond that, each of you will get a minute to answer, and then you may have an opportunity to give 30 seconds to be able to give your commentary on that question, since not everybody will get the questions. But the next two questions, everybody will get 1 minute to do that. As I'm doing that, just let you know that when we get to the end of the time, I don't mean to be rude, but I will need to cut you off. Please, when we get to the end of that time, just finish your sentence and we'll be done and move on, okay? Thank you. So the second question of the evening will start with Steve Smith. If elected to council, what would your relationship be to city staff?
My, excuse me, my relationship with the city staff is very important because they're the ones that are going to be giving me factual information that the community needs to know. And using the staff, it's vital. It's very vital for me. So having a great relationship with the city staff, we need them.
Thank you. Terry Baldwin.
I already have a relationship with the city staff. I've served on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for 4 years. I've been an election judge in several of the latest local elections. That's kind of my thing, is to develop relationships, and I already have relationships with most of the people on staff here. What I would do as a city council person is rely on their expertise in their area to give recommendations to us as the city council to make decisions. And respect all of them very much.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
Mhm.
George Jones.
Yeah, and so I think the question is about the council members' relationship to the city staff in terms of what kind of influence can you have over the city staff? And you can't. Your relationship is with the city manager. And the city staff, you can have a cordial relationship, which a lot of us do, but that relationship really needs to go through the city manager. That's where the true relationship lies.
All right, thank you, George. Don DeZellem.
Gosh, it's gonna by the time you get
I know.
4 other people, you're saying the same thing. But yeah, truly, truly the relationship there is the staff works for the city manager. I'm gonna rely on the city staff for their expertise and their knowledge in the areas that I don't have that knowledge, which is gonna probably be a lot of what comes before the council. So I'm gonna use that expertise to help the citizen.
Thank you, Don. Jerry Pinland.
George is absolutely right. We can't direct the city staff. We should go through Aaron and Suzanne, especially Aaron. And that's what I do before I talk to anybody. I just talked to Aaron. Well, I emailed Aaron yesterday about the potholes because we have one really bad in our neighborhood. He has a limited staff right now. They're down 50%. So if anybody wants to join the group to fix potholes, you've got a job. Also, potholes are temporary in this time of year because as an engineer, you know that you can't do much because of the weather and the freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing. So they're just a temporary fix that won't last very long right now. So bear with him. He'll be able to fix those permanently in the summer. It costs a lot more money for a permanent fix, but that's what he's waiting on is mainly the summer. So that's what I do is go through Aaron to anybody in the staff.
Thank you, Jerry. Eric.
Yes, I'm going to echo everything that everyone else has said, except we have a really great staff that a lot of them have been here serving for decades, and I appreciate that. I sat down with Aaron and Kip for about an hour to talk about water, and Aaron is the point man. He's the one that is running the city and the operations. So everything would be through that. My relationship would be, that's that one council member that always asks all the questions. And so I'm always going to be digging for questions through Aaron to get those answers. And so as an engaged council member, I'll be that guy, the one asking the questions.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Kelly.
Thank you. So the city staff does work for Aaron, the city manager, and this council can have casual conversation. They can ask questions, get information. They cannot direct the staff. The only person that can direct the staff is the city manager or his designee. The other relationship with the city staff is they are the professionals. They are the ones that do the research. They prepare the staff reports. They work with our applicants or whomever it might be coming before the city council. They research and use their expertise and their professional knowledge to provide staff reports, data, information to the city council and the public in order for them to make an educated and informed decision on the things that come before them. So with that, our staff is very knowledgeable and does an excellent job keeping the council informed and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Tim?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, certainly the city staff, I've been, just learning more about them, getting to know them even more. And I just appreciate all the staff that I already know, and I want to get to know them even more, certainly. It seems like we have an awesome team here. I mean, certainly the manager is the one who's going to be the directing that. But I just enjoy the relationships I've already been building with them. And I'm looking forward to, Jerry's mentioning potholes, I'm looking at forward to what is in the budget about all these roads are going to be redone, totally torn up and redone. And so I wouldn't even mention the roads. Thank you. But that'll be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Jeffrey?
I'm not sure there's anything else left to be said about the city staff. Quite honestly, I think they're phenomenal. I've been extremely impressed with every staff member I've gotten an opportunity to interact with throughout this journey. Whether it be Aaron or Suzanne or Kip or really anyone on staff. So far as council's role with staff, I think it's been pretty clearly outlined by previous candidates and their explanations. But all that being said, I just want to reiterate and echo the fact that council is nothing without the staff. Whether that staff reports to Aaron or you're having any kind of one-on-one interaction with them, the council relies deeply on the information that the staff provides. So just want to continue to reiterate my support for them and thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Frank?
So thank you. All the comments are awesome. Our city staff is great. I appreciate our new manager, Aaron. He was our finance guy beforehand. We now have a budget that is transparent and anybody can get a copy of it and look at it. So that's a huge improvement. I found that being on council, the biggest thing is respect and collaboration with our city staff. That seems to get the problem solved. Let them do their job. It's not our job to direct each individual because it's not just the people who provide that provide our invoices or budgetary or even the notices and memos we get for city to prepare us for city council. We have people that fill our potholes, that plow our snow, and our police. And please understand the police don't give you any kind of break because you're on city council. So, but I truly love our city employees and our police department. They have done a great job and we've made some good changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Moving on to the next question, and we'll be starting with Terry on this one. Have you received any donations or endorsements from any groups? If so, which groups? Do you think this may appear to be a conflict of interest since council member positions are considered nonpartisan? I'll read that once again since it's a longer question. Have you received any donations or endorsements from any groups? If so, which groups? Do you think that may appear to be a conflict of interest since council member positions are considered nonpartisan? Terry?
I'm going to make my answer short since I'm the only one that went over the last time. I have not taken any donations from any group. So there's no conflict of interest, period.
Okay, thank you, Terry. George?
Yes, I have taken one donation from an individual and I only have endorsements from individuals, not groups.
Okay, thank you. Dawn?
I've taken one donation from a private citizen and no endorsements from anybody yet.
Thank you, Dawn. Jerry?
Absolutely not. As I stated before, I'm totally independent.
Thank you, Jerry. Eric?
Donations from no groups, but plenty of individuals, yes.
Thank you. Kelly?
Yes, sir. I have taken several donations from individuals and from businesses, but not any groups that you would think of as a group. And I have received many endorsements, but they are all from individual people.
Thank you, Kelly.
Mhm.
Tim?
No endorsements from people, from any groups or organizations, no donations from any groups. I've not gone to solicit endorsements from anybody. I feel I'm a citizens advocate. I go to the citizens and I want to get their concern. I'm for the citizens and I'm not, for groups.
Thank you, Tim. Jeffrey?
No donations from any groups, just private citizens. So far as the conflict of interest question, I feel like I want to make the NASCAR jacket joke right now, but beyond that, no.
All right. Frank?
No group donations, and veterans are the biggest supporters. So I don't know if that's evil or not.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Frank. Steve?
Well, if you consider our community a group, then yes, I have. But all mine have been contributions were from the citizens individually, no special interest groups or anything else like that. Because, well, my group is the community.
Thank you. It's always great when your answers are shorter than the question. That's a all right, moving on. That for now on, these questions will be set up so that you give a 1-minute response. If you choose to do a 30-second response to the response, you may do so. But once again, please keep it to a minute and then to 30 seconds if you choose to do so.
Steve, can I ask a question on that?
Yes, you may.
Are you saying like a rebuttal response?
Yeah, I just hate to call it a rebuttal.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's
But does everybody get to do a 30
yeah, so you could. If in the past, as I watched past,
Yeah.
not everybody has to do. Occasionally, you'll have somebody who wants to rebut every one of
Uh-oh,
them.
you're getting the axe.
It's your choice, but not everybody gets to rebut.
Okay, she says it's my choice, but not everybody gets to rebut. Yes, just please use common sense with it as we go. That's, you
Fair.
guys are common sense people from what I've heard, so let's move forward in that manner. So George, we are going to start with you.
Okay.
With 1 minute, and this question is, if elected to city council, how would you handle requests if approached from an individual or special interest group? If elected to city council, how would you handle requests if approached from an individual or special interest group?
Yeah, thank you. It all depends. So under quasi judicial matters, I can't. You can't. I can't do that today in planning. So individual requests or groups would have to be directed to public comment. Other matters that other folks on the council have had to address in the past, like potholes or what have you, those things are readily, easily brought forward. Especially as you heard here tonight, taken right to the city manager, have conversations that way. It's very, this city is very, the city staff and of course the city manager, very approachable in that way.
Thank you. Move on to question number 5 here with Dawn. Dawn, an individual council member has no authority. Only the council as a whole can make decisions for the city. What skills or traits will allow you to contribute to effective operations of the council as a whole?
Well, in order for the council to make a decision, basically you have to reach a consensus. And over the years in business and such, one of the things that I've learned to do is be able to learn how to build teams and individuals into consensuses and to make a decision that's best for the entire body. So I feel that I can take that skill that I've learned in business and apply that to my dealings with the council.
Right, thank you, Dawn. Okay, moving ahead. Jerry, in relation to the budget, how important are staff wages, and are you willing to sacrifice in other areas to fairly compensate city employees?
Wages are extremely important. As a competitive, we're in a competitive environment. We have Colorado Springs down in just a short distance away, so we're competing with them. So we need to make sure our wages are in concert with them so we can get qualified people up here. As far as taking something away from another area, that would be a discussion with the citizens. Are you willing to, just a simple example, are you willing to do less pothole repairs to have higher wages? Are you willing to do less snow removal? What do you want to do? That's the question. Anytime you're in a budget situation, what do you not want to do so you can do something else? That's the thing that you have to ask the citizens to tell you so you can adjust the budget accordingly. But wages are extremely important because we're in a competitive environment with Colorado Springs right down the hill.
Okay, Cherry, thank you. Just a note, and George called it a rebuttal, and that's kind of the word I want to go for, but it really isn't. If there's a comment you'd like to make on the question, you can, just you get 30 seconds to do
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna make a comment on that as well.
Okay,
I
George.
echo what Jerry was saying. And I would add that during budget review or during the creation of the budget, the process is open to public comment as well. So just know that it doesn't have to just come to a council member. You can absolutely come and speak before that process.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving forward. Eric.
Yes, sir.
The city recently agreed to lower the mill levy rate for the city of Woodland Park for 2024. As a result of recent legislative action taken, this mill levy reduction was allowed for a one-time reduction of 3 mills and will revert back to the original mill levy rate at the end of 2024. Are you in favor of looking at further mill levy reductions? And what is the process going forward should the city need to raise mill levy, the mill levy in 2025?
I'm 100% in favor of looking at keeping that reduction as long as we can. I know there's been a reassessment, and so a lot of people are looking at increased property taxes. That's all, and that comes from the county, just to be clear. And the county has helped us with that as well. But with the outside factors, there's a lot of families that need help in that relief. And so I would continue with that. And that's not just me alone. That's the whole council. So we would have to look at that together.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Yes.
Terry.
And adding up the numbers, I like the idea that we're helping the community out. But when you look at the hard numbers, we're talking about, so for a 3 mill levy reduction that's temporary, the city loses $491,000. We have a new water tank that needs to be built. Built. We're working on the $1 million reservoir. So just as long as people understand that if you reduce the mill levy.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah,
Yes.
can I chime in?
George has his hand up next, and then you, Frank, okay?
Just so real quick, I would support that reduction again. Understand that what we're trying to do is get to that next assessment period that Eric was talking about, right? So we're just trying to bridge to that point where valuations hopefully will be a little more realistic. And the last thing I'd add, I would work in conjunction with the county because it's really key that the county participates in that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Frank.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I do want to say that the mill reduction, the credit that was issued came off of our reserve fund, which reduced it from 2.1 million down to 1.7 million. So that money doesn't come from the water source. It doesn't come from the road fund. That credit was given from the reserve fund. So every year we have that reserve fund. This reserve fund that we had after the mill levy credit was rolled into 2024's budget. So it's money that we could go as high as 5 or 6 mill rate
Okay.
reduction and still have a reserve fund.
Thank you. I know part of that. Oh, Kelly? Yeah,
Thank
and
you,
before
Steve.
you go, part of that
Yes.
question was, what is the process going forward? Should the city need to raise the mill levy in 2025? That was a little more difficult sometimes to answer, but Kelly.
I'm happy to answer that. It would require a vote of the people in order to raise the mill levy rate at any point in the future. I'd also just like to comment that reassessments happen every other year in odd numbered years. And so the next assessment will be just a review. It won't be a reassessment period for 2025. And so with that, we would absolutely have to look at that on a analysis basis so that we know what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. And Tim, you had a comment?
Yeah, just, I would certainly want to review it every year, just so we can see where we're at. I mean, definitely, we need to adjust the budget to where we're going. I mean, once once we're able to reduce the debt on the pool, when we may have to adjust things as well. So it's just going to be, it's going to be an ongoing thing. We need to review it. And as Kelly had mentioned, to raise it, we need citizens' approval.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Kelly. In 2016, by a 60% yes vote, Woodland Park voters approved a 1.09% sales tax to supplement the RE2 school district budget, while retiring one of two school district property tax mill levies for the city residents. As a result, an intergovernmental agreement was established. Please explain what the city's role or their obligation is within this intergovernmental agreement.
I'm happy to. The cities diverted at the request of the people and a vote of the people that 1.09% of their ability to levy a tax on the retail sales in our town. And so that money goes to them every year. And with that comes some responsibility, which is to report how the money was used. We've asked for an increase of fees because it costs us a whole lot more to actually administer that than it did, similar to what the county does for our property taxes. It also talks about, forget the third thing, but we did have a meeting on the 29th. And I think we had a great meeting and came away with a plan. And we had a great relationship between each other. And I think we've reestablished that. And we're looking forward to that moving forward.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
George.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, we keep talking about this as a 1.09%. This amount equates to what I think 2023, it's going to equate to $3.4 million. This is no small number. 1.09% just sounds so small. $3.4 million of our taxpayer dollars is going to RE2. And we need to hold that accountable. These guys did a great job in starting that, but that doesn't end there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tim.
Yeah, the sales tax was approved by the citizens, and I don't think it should be removed, except by the citizens. And there really are two different issues here. You have the money was done by the citizens, but it's the board that manages it. The city should not be managing it. All the city does is receive the money and pass it on to the school board.
Thank you. Terry.
However, there is an intergovernmental agreement between the school district and the city, and they are required to follow the things that are lined out in the contract. And that's not been happening for whatever reason. It needs to happen.
Thank you. Jeffrey.
I'd also like to point out that when the citizens voted for this 1.09%, which by the way, Woodland Park has some of the highest
3.4 million.
You what?
1.09.
Yeah, 1.09% sales tax. I'd also like, when the citizens voted for that, I don't think they envisioned the current configuration and construction of RE2. I also certainly don't think the citizens had expected the lack of transparency and information that we're not getting out of RE2. Lastly, we have some of the highest sales tax in
Thank you.
Colorado.
Thank you. Steve.
Well, just my thoughts. I think when they do this, IAG or the intergovernmental contract with the 1.09, that they should include with that the sunset clause for this. And reason being is to, okay, let's get these things done, built and taken care of, and then this tax stops because it did what it was supposed to do.
Okay, Eric.
Part of the reason that this was brought forward was to help with the property tax, but also to put some of that burden onto to the families that that are using the public schools because they typically spend more money in sales tax. It also brings more money from outside of the city. So it's definitely something that I'm for, but I don't think that the council should take it out. There was transparency, but there was also miscommunication, and I think the communication could have been much better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jerry.
City council and the school board are totally independent entities. They have a plan to try to come to agreement on the IGA and the tax. But if that plan falls apart for any reason, it ought to go back to the vote of the citizens.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question with Tim. Tim, currently the city does not host a school resource officer. Do you believe the city should provide a school resource officer? And how would the city fund such officer?
I think the police are doing a good job right now in patrolling and doing that things. I don't believe they need a police, at this point, I don't believe they need a police resource officer.
Okay, thank you. Steve.
To my understanding and my viewing of such, that the resource officers are no longer with the school from the police department. It's an outside entity that they're using.
Anybody else? Eric?
So Woodland Park, RE2 is not just the city of Woodland Park. It's also the divide and other outside of the city. So I believe that, that the school should bear some of that, not just the city of Woodland Park.
Okay. Terry?
I was in education for 20 years, and the relationships that school resource officers form with students and staff are unparalleled. The current situation, I think, needs to be improved. And yes, I would support the city putting school resource officers back in the schools.
Okay, moving on. Jeffrey. In October of 2021, the city adopted their Envision Woodland Park 2030 plan. In essence, their comprehensive plan. In the 12 areas addressed within the document, which area do you have the most expertise with, and what can you contribute as an elected official?
So I'm still getting very familiar with that. As much as I wish I could just point to something and just go, unfortunately, I'm still getting that level of familiarity with it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Frank. With the recent special election regarding short-term rentals and the passage of the Citizens Initiative during that election, please explain what the new ordinance is and how the city will regulate short-term rentals in the city of Woodland Park.
What the Citizens Initiative did was add short-term rental definition to our codes and use chart. So it specifically says where short-term rentals are now allowed to operate. If you're not a mom and pop living there, you can only have a short-term rental in the commercial zones, whether it's neighborhood commercial or one of the closed commercial zones in downtown. Those are the only place you can have an investor-run short-term rental.
Okay, thank you. Terry.
Sorry, I keep chiming in with
No,
this
that's okay.
little. At a loss to the city of over $400,000, which by law is supposed to be used for economic development, and it has not been.
Okay, Kelly.
Yeah, I would just like to go further from what Frank said. It also provides for short-term rentals for residents, not just investors in commercial zones. And it also provides for residential zones if the homeowner's present 24/7 in the home during the stay. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Frank?
Yeah, the loss of tax revenue still hasn't been proven, because if those houses are filled with first full-time residents, they're going to pay tax, which is going to be threefold than just the weekend warriors showing up.
Jerry.
If you read the citizens ordinance, one thing that's a misunderstanding, I live in my house right now. Right now, I could have a short-term rental visitor, if you want to call them visitors or renters, in my house. And I live there. That doesn't violate the ordinance. I'm not there 24/7. And it doesn't apply to visitors like family and friends. It does not apply.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Okay, moving on. Steve, with the city sitting with a healthy general fund reserve, what capital projects or improvements might you consider for the city?
Well, with that, I would say more development for the parks and recs to get, more open space, more activities for, from kids to seniors, and to use it fiscally and responsibly to make it more attractive for people to come and stay. Because the more outside activities you have, more willing people are going to want to come here. So I would put it towards that, as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Jeffrey.
I'm a huge advocate for Parks and Rec. I volunteer my time as head umpire for the baseball side of Parks and Rec. So you won't find a bigger advocate for Parks and Rec than myself. As far as kind of moving forward, I would love to see a rec center be built. We rely way too much on outside facility usage with RE2. I would love to see a rec center built and to complement our already existing aquatic center.
Thank you. Eric.
It's not flashing, it's not exciting, but I would look at the water resources. Terry talked about the tank that we need to add because the walls on the other one need to be refurbished. There's a lot of things that we don't see that we depend on, and I think that's where we need to start and pay off our aquatic center before we add other projects.
Okay, thank you. George.
Yeah, Parks and Rec, that's great. I'd say I would like to see the continuation on more road improvement. And I'm in the telco industry. I used to work for some mobile network operators. I can tell you that many metropolitans, municipalities, especially smaller ones, are really pushing fiber. And I would like to see us really consider a fiber optic ring coming into Woodland Park.
Thank you. Kelly.
I'd like to just share some information on the heels of George's comment that the city does own a 24-strand fiber that has terminated at Walmart that was brought up the pass, and we are in the midst of a project to analyze and make a ring around the city and then try and share that forward with others. So that's in process.
Thank you.
Which is very exciting. Thank
Tim.
you.
If I could transfer some money over to affordable housing, that's what I'd like to do. We need more affordable housing for the people who are in this town.
Okay, thank you. Jerry.
I don't see a bypass coming to Woodland Park for 10 to 20 years. On Planning Commission and other times, we've looked at that. And as an engineer looking at the timelines, it won't be here for 10 to 20 years. So what I'd like to see is a city take a comprehensive look, a holistic look at the downtown area and try to figure out a way that we can enhance the downtown area to help us bring in events away from Highway 24, because we have to look at things around Highway 24, not changing.
Thank you, Jerry. George.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that CDOT has taken up that issue of the reliever route. So that is underway. I agree with you. It is, well, it's going to be, who knows how many years, but I don't think that we wait. We need to start thinking and planning for that. And I agree with you, Jerry, the comprehensive plan, the 2030 vision does actually talk to the downtown area as well. So I would say citizens take a look at that.
All right, thank you. Moving on. Terry, water is a crucial resource for growth. What solutions, as a city council member, can you identify to address shrinking water availability for citizens, businesses, and large water consumers who are here now and those who are looking to build here?
I had a meeting last week with Kip Wiley, who is the guru of our water situation, and it's in a lot of ways put my mind to rest. We do have a big project that we need to look at. The Gold Hill water tank needs to be replaced. It's a $2.5 million project. The new reservoir that we're now working with the Boy Scouts of America would take a while for it to fill up. I think the water restrictions have to stay in place during summer months. Karis could chip in and we could put some turf in over at Meadowwood so that we can stop using water over there. Those are my ideas.
Okay. I do have oh, I'm sorry, Eric. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, water is important and Kip is doing a great job. He has a buffer on full build out. And so we are in a good position that the new reservoir does not give us more water necessarily, but what it does is it allows us to manage it better. And so we have things on the way that are really going to be a boon to managing what we have.
Thank you. George.
Yeah, the last part of your question, I think, had to do with commercial consumption. One of the things I'd like to see is that water becomes a consideration with the planning commission. Today, we don't have the ability to really look at water usage and make decisions or recommendations to council that way. So I'd like to drive that down.
Okay. Jeffrey.
I'd just like to echo George's comments. I would really like to see water usage be a part of our municipal code.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, I think he mentioned it as well. I know that was in the, at least we talked about it, about people have talked about trying to get that into the planning commission issues, definitely. But in talking with, talked to the previous utilities director and, you know, and this is not a scare tactic. I mean, it sounds like we're managing it very well right now. Kip is doing a great job taking over that up. And with the reservoir, I think we're doing great. And as he had mentioned, there will always be opportunities to buy more water. Yes, it'll be a little more expensive, but that'll be it.
Okay, thank you. Frank.
Yeah, I have to agree with most of the opinions here. But one thing that nobody wants is more government. But unfortunately, the only way to update these is to do new ordinances, to actually update a process for water saving, water restrictions, whatever word you want to put on it. We need to have an updated ordinance that allows our utilities manager to be able to regulate that. Because right now we have nothing.
Thank you. At this time, I do have more questions that we're going to go down the row again, and George will be the next one when we get back to that. But we're going to.
No, it's okay.
Who had? Kelly, I'm sorry.
Please, it's okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that we do look at water in developments that come through to us. A recent example is the car wash that was proposed because we made a change to the PUD for Walmart pad site and for the consideration of a potential car wash in the future. And very strict and very long analysis with regards to that. And the council questioned the staff quite extensively. So just wanted to share that, not
Thank
to
you.
rebut.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out though that we weren't able to do that in planning. And that's what I wanted to see.
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, thank you. So the next questions are actually going to come from our media. We're going to, I'll come back to George and we'll work our way down the list of questions that we have. But media at this time, are there any questions that you have that you'd like to present to the panel? Just a second, we're going to get a mic in front of you if you don't mind, huh?
Here, I complain about not being able to hear. I wondered if some of you could comment on the lack of transparency with the school board. You had a meeting on Thursday night, hours later, we got an announcement that they were closing Gateway. Do you see a problem with that?
Are we starting with me?
Uh,
Is this my question?
No,
Okay.
actually, we're going to come back to you. This is
Oh,
open.
okay.
Everybody, you do have 1 minute to respond if you choose to respond to this question. And we'll start with Jeffrey.
Yeah, I find the timing of the announcement of the closing of Gateway in relation to the meeting on the 29th between the school board and the council to be suspicious at best. You know, the whole problem that we currently have is every taxpayer deserves to know where every last cent of their tax dollars go. And we simply do not have that visibility at this time. Yeah, the school district has thrown a budget up on the website as a reaction to council's initial questioning of it a couple of meetings ago. But the reality is we do not have the visibility that we as taxpayers demand to have. And again, I find the announcement of the closing of Gateway without any knowledge or public comment, or even letting the entire Board of Education know that that was going to happen, I find that to be abhorrent and absolutely ridiculous.
Beals Kelly?
I do agree that it was an interesting timing and it could have been better. But what was I going to say? Oh, I know. I would like to just make a comment and a recommendation to the school board that the more you can do in the public eye and your decisions made in the public eye in a public meeting, always, and to have very clear conversation and deliberation about it really does fare well in supporting your decisions that you make. So that's just a comment and a suggestion that I would offer. I don't mean to be critical by that. I'm just trying to share some knowledge from experience. So thank you.
Thank you. Harry?
Yes, I've been disappointed with not having as much information as I'd like from the school board, but I would be cautious not to raise suspicion this quickly. I would rather be in dialogue to better understand those decisions. I've said in the past that sunlight's the best disinfectant. It's the best way for the community to get behind you. And so I would like to see the school board communicate better in order for the community to get behind them on the decisions that they are making.
Thank you.
I'm not an expert on the school board. I don't claim to be. The meeting on the 29th, though, had two parts to it. One was a little disappointing. They didn't talk about the IGA or anything about a sunset clause, maybe. They didn't really talk about 1.09. The main thing they did was agree to meet again. Then the closing of the school, I thought there was some kind of public process that you had to go through to get the citizens to agree to close the school. But they just closed it and there was nothing in that meeting that said anything about that. So I agree. There was with the people up here that think that there's a lack of transparency. There's a process, I think, that you have to go through to close the school. You don't just, boom, it's gone.
Thank you. Harry?
Again, with my experience in education, all due respect, Eric, this has been going on for a few years now. I don't think anybody's jumping to any conclusions. It's been pretty apparent that this is the way they're going to operate. And I'm with you, Kelly. Transparency goes a long way. Which is one of the things I want to bring to council, is let people understand why you're making the decisions that you're making, so they're not guessing. I have the luxury of having Kelly as a neighbor, so I can go to her and say, why'd you vote that way? And get a full explanation. So.
Thank you. Tim?
I would say, and I'll speak as a citizen, not as a councilman, that I would like to see more transparency from the school. I don't feel like as a councilman, that's not my purview.
Thank you. Trevor?
Do you think our Main Street / downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
George?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question, Trevor. Actually, so having two businesses downtown, I do think that it is a successful downtown. I truly do. I hear people say it's hard to do business in Woodland Park, and I don't believe that at all. I can prove it. What do we need to do more? I really do think that we need to have a cohesive downtown organization. Let's call it Main Street. We used to have one, but something that brings the beautification, the organization down there, and the representation of businesses, and working with with all due respect, working with the Chamber of Commerce and the DDA. I think there's more we can do. And so I'd really like to push, advocate for that kind of cohesiveness.
Right. Thank you, George. Tim?
Yeah, I agree with George totally. I was disappointed to see Main Street go away, and DDA is not really that purview to manage that, but certainly more economic development. But I do believe it is in good shape, but I'd love to see more happen there.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I love our downtown. The only comment I would make is I wish it was easier to cross 24. That'd be the only thing I'd add.
All right. Frank?
Yes, the committee that used to do that work now requires a full-time person. And our city council will have to decide and make recommendations, or the city will make recommendations on whether or not we want to continue that. But that would be another individual on payroll, because the state is now required that that committee have a full-time representative.
Yeah, thank you.
Just for clarification, it's not the state, it's the Main Street, National Main Street.
Sorry, Main Street.
Organization.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions from the media?
Eric, I didn't hear how long you've lived here.
I've been here for about 3 or 4 years, about 4 years.
Thank you. Any more questions? Trevor?
What's more important for our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
Anybody care to take that
Can
one
you
on?
clarify that a little bit, Trevor? The building residential and commercial, you said? Yeah, okay. I mean, so I'll address that. So with the STR initiative, one thing that it didn't go away is demand. And I can tell you, we still have demand for STRs. We're still going to have demand for, residences. I like the idea of residential up top, commercial below, some of that, there's a lot of opportunity to do that in this town. So I think it's a great thing. Could be a great thing.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
Affordable housing is a big challenge here. As most everyone in this room knows, we're one of the most expensive places in Colorado to live. So it creates unique challenges for our service industry, for our restaurants, for everything. And so I would like to see more discussion around how to create more affordable housing.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Jerry?
Yeah, I agree with George. In Europe, if you've been there, and most of us in this room probably have, it's a normal building downtown to have in a small city, not in big cities, but in small cities like the one I lived in. Mom and pop lives upstairs, and they operate the butcher shop downstairs. And that's a great thing and a great concept. And it brings people downtown to shop and to eat in the restaurants. So I totally agree. We need more of residents downtown.
Thank you. Kelly?
Yeah, I agree with you all as well. I think that as far as the city goes, 9.17 in our charter prohibits us from incentivizing any development, whether it's commercial or residential. However, I believe that, and I think we're starting to work on that I get lots of calls, and Aaron gets lots of calls from me with folks that have an issue. And one of the conversations that we've been having, and he's been having with staff, is how do we make things easier and less cumbersome to get through processes in Woodland Park, in City Hall. So that's something that we're aware of. And I hope to see that Aaron doing great things to make that so.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Right. Dawn?
I agree too with the using of like lofts above businesses, that type of stuff. That's helped downtown Colorado Springs rejuvenate some. Also, one of the things that most people might know is that a lot of the infill lots in town are starting to be developed. Lots that previously builders had looked at and said, I can't do anything with. they are starting to be developed and housing is starting to be put onto them. So, I support that because that utilizes those lots that previously have not been used for housing.
Thank you.
Can I answer? one more
Yeah,
time?
Jerry.
If you want to open a business in Woodland Park, what's the process? Program managers and engineers love flowcharts. I should be able to walk into City Hall and take one piece of paper with a flowchart that tells me these are the steps you have to go through, and this is a timeline for a generic timeline for those steps. Each one is going to be different, but you could have it laid out so that it doesn't take 12, 14, 16, 18 months to open up a business in Woodland Park.
Yeah, thank you. Any more questions from the media? Okay, hearing none, we'll keep moving forward. So George, you're next, and this question is, if you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
Oh, hold on. So in my position on that is our zoning code, should remain the way it is. I don't see anything that needs to change. And I will tell you, when applicants come before planning, the first thing I look for is, are they trying to change a zone? And so, in terms of the code itself, I can, Don and I could probably tell you, we're doing, wording modifications at workshops throughout the year. So we're always changing little things, in terms of that stuff. But other than that, I think our our zoning and land use is great. It's fine.
Thank you. Jerry.
Yeah, 5 years on. 5 years on planning. I totally agree with you. There were some really smart people that put together our zoning code decades ago. The main problem we have is making sure that we comply with the code we have.
I agree. 100%.
Kelly.
I'd just like to build on what George said. They're going through the process of reviewing the code changes and the improvement that was done by the folks that did our comprehensive plan. They've had that for probably a year now, and they're going through it very carefully to be sure that it's as it should be. And it's going to be much more user-friendly and consolidated when they finish their work. So here's to you all for that great work you're doing.
Thank you. Don.
Just to chime in on the last two comments, by getting that project done, it's going to make it much easier for developers to come in and take a look and get their projects sent through, because it's going to be not, I got to go here and look at this and then go over here and look at that, and then go back over here and look at this. You're going to be able to look at one thick document and be able to pretty much follow it like a flow chart through. So I think that'll be an aid to the city.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Don, your turn. And I'm going to read this twice. It's a little longer. It says, the city's charter specifically prohibits the use of municipal funds or resources to incentivize private development. Incentivizing development has been brought before the voters on 3 different occasions and voted down. Are you in favor of relooking at taking that option to the voters again? If yes or no, please explain why. Coming back to incentivizing, are you in favor of relooking at taking that option to the voters again? If yes or no, please explain why.
I would say no. The incentive that the city should be giving to businesses to come here should be that when they come to open a business, everything is fair. You have a fair way of licensing them. You have a fair way of getting them into a building, getting them processed through in that building, and getting them established. It's not the role of government to make businesses successful, but it's the role of government to aid them and to be able to do it by being fair and honest.
Good, thank you. Jeffrey.
Just like to echo your comments, Don, and also to add, the citizens, I think, have made it pretty clear multiple times what kind of community that they want. And I don't think it's appropriate at this time to ask them to re-verify and revalidate the decision yet again. I think one of the challenges that we have is the citizens tell us what they want, not the other way around.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve?
Oh, Kelly.
I just would like to say that I agree with that because like you say, 3 times and it's been a strong no. The only thing that I see that might be a reasonable thing would be in the affordable housing arena. That's where we really have our hands tied and it could be helpful to help with that in addition to the Fed programs and such. Not to say that I would support that, but I do think that's where it would really benefit this community.
Thank you. Eric.
Yes, I agree. The way to incentivize business is to reduce taxes and the tax burden and to reduce red tape. And so that's where the city can help out.
Thank you. Frank.
Thank you. I do would like to agree with our affordable housing. I do believe there is a way to help bring that closer to us if we limit the fees that we charge with planning fees, building fees, water tap fees. And I think that is a possibility of doing that as to still maintain our charter of not incentivizing. But I believe that reduced fees for some of these projects are good. I don't want the government to give you a home and I don't want them to give you a business and I don't want to pay a ton of taxes, but I think there are ways of doing it.
Okay. Thank you. Terry.
But what about using the lodging taxes to hire an economic development person? Not incentivize, but market and sell our city to bring businesses here.
Frank.
Yeah, I have a trouble hiring anybody with one particular revenue stream to pay for that employer or employee. So, well, we didn't actually cut it. It's seasonal. I live next to one, so nobody's going to tell me, what's going on with them. I've lived with one for several years. Even before I was elected, I came to the city and said, look at your use chart. It is not legal. So we have people on planning who seem to think that we can actually do
Okay, thank you,
that.
Frank.
So.
All right. That was close. All right. Moving on. For Jerry. Jerry, the proposed Highway 24 reliever route has been a focal point and possible solution for returning walkability, safety, and enjoyment of our downtown to the community and businesses. Realizing that the project could cost tens of millions of dollars, do you support the construction of this project? If so, would you debt finance the project as soon as possible or wait to accumulate enough cash to pay the city's share? So the question is, do you support the construction of this project? And if so, would you debt finance the project as soon as possible or wait to accumulate enough cash or pay the city's share?
I think the last number I saw was 120 million. I think the last number I saw was 120 million, 110 million. It's not 5 or 10 million. It's a big deal. I would definitely support it. I don't see it coming in my lifetime, probably. It's going to be a long time before it gets here. We have tremendous problems with acquiring the land that we need. As far as financing our share, that's something that the citizens should decide. City council shouldn't make that decision. That should be something the citizens decide, because a lot of people know that they won't get a benefit from it. But my problem is that it should have been done in the 90s. That's where I start from. And it's not going to be here until 2035 or 2040. So.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey.
So I definitely support the diverter route, but to kind of echo Jerry's point, how the city pays its share is kind of a to be determined thing, really largely dictated by what the citizens are willing to bear from a tax burden standpoint. So I'd love to see it built. I wish it was built 30 years ago as well. But when it comes time, how we pay our share of the city is going to certainly be a tricky topic.
Thank you. Kelly.
Yes, I am the city council's liaison and representative on the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Directors. And they are the ones that determine the federal funding. It is a federal highway, and the reliever route would also be a federal highway. And so us taking the initiative to build the whole thing is not going to fly. But we can certainly plan. It is not on the 10-year plan. It's not on the 20-year plan. We are doing a analysis now.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. It's good. Any other comment? Okay, moving forward, Eric. In 2013, Woodland Park City Council voted 3-2 to prohibit recreational marijuana sales in the city limits. The resulting ordinance also prohibits the operation of medical marijuana centers, commercial cultivation operations, and the sale of medical marijuana infused products. Do you believe the city council should revisit this issue? And if so, how would you vote?
I'll just go to the end. I'm gonna say I oppose it. And there's reasons for that. If you ask Chief Deisler, what's the problems in Woodland Park? He mentioned drug use and an occasional domestic. Also, I've been to Glenwood Springs before and after dispensaries, and it's a different city. And if you want to take part in that, you can go to the Springs and find what you need, but not in Woodland Park. I'm not ready to sell out our community for that.
Hey, guys, well, thank you. Jerry.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would not support it. If you wanted it, it's 20 minutes away. What's the problem?
Okay, thank you. Jeffrey.
I think it's entirely up to the citizens. The citizens want to bring an initiative to council and there's sufficient support. I don't see why we can't at least have the discussion. But to echo your comments, yeah, there are plenty of other opportunities and places you can go in Colorado, so it doesn't have to be in Woodland Park. But I don't want to just close the door to the idea automatically. If that's something the citizens want, I think it's worthwhile to have a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Kelly.
I really don't mean to take up my microphone too much, but back when that was banned, it was an overwhelming desire from the citizens talking to their council that is not something that we want in our community. And I believe the county had the same response at their level as well, because it's banned in the county. And so I am of the opinion that any conversation about that needs to come from an initiative from the citizens. I don't think that that is a place for council. It's too sensitive and too important.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, at this time, we've worked through the questions, and just so the audience knows, these were put in order and they drew numbers. That's how they ended up with the question they ended up with on this. And now we have some questions from the audience, and Mark has vetted these, and you know, sometimes we get questions that probably are not appropriate, and then we have some that are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Kelly on these, and you'll get a minute,
Okay.
And then we'll come back with the 30 seconds like normal. Okay. And it says for all candidates, so everybody will get an opportunity, but we ask you to keep it 30 after Kelly's minute. Kelly, what is the number one issue for the city council to address?
Where do I begin? One of our biggest priorities, and probably one of the most important priorities, that is funded from user fees, which is really a business-like operation, is our water and our reservoir. Our reservoir provides augmentation water that gives us the right to pull water out of our freshwater sources in order to have enough water for the community. And I believe that water is our most important commodity. And Kip has done a really great job of building up reserves in the fund in order to look at this and do this with a good chunk of cash so that we would not have to fund the whole project with debt. But that reservoir and continuing to watch for water rights to purchase is probably the most important thing our community needs to focus on. If I had more time, I'd go further, but thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment on that? Jeffrey.
Well, water is certainly critical. The thing I think is most serious though, is fire mitigation and wildfire protection. We live in one of the most dangerous parts of Colorado so far as a wildfire threat, and that's not my opinion, that's the U.S. Forestry Service. So, I think council needs to take a really long, hard look at how we can help our community protect itself against wildfire.
Good, thank you. Terry?
I completely agree with what Jeff just said. There's a program called Firewise USA. If we could bring that to Woodland Park, I know we've got one subdivision, the Ridgewood subdivision that's already done it. It includes education, mitigation, et cetera, and also will lower our insurance rates. So that would be something that I would have.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, I believe fire is definitely an issue, but I think after attending the fire department meetings, they're in good shape. And they got excellent staff, and they really do. And so I'm saying, I don't say that's an issue for us as a city. That's definitely city for, the city is working on it. And so I don't find that a problem at all. I think affordable housing is our number one issue right now.
Yeah, thank you. Jeffrey?
Only thing I would say to that is a town called Paradise, California, a town roughly the size of Woodland Park. 99% of the structures were lost in a wildfire that started about 45 minutes before it hit the town, and it wiped the town out in just about an hour. I just don't think we can ignore that threat. And we're in very similar conditions to Paradise, California.
Thank you. Terry?
And Boulder, Lafayette, Louisville, Colorado.
Yeah, right. Anybody else for that question? We'll move on to another one here. Tim, we'll start with you on this. You get a minute. So what is your position on illegal immigration and us being a sanctuary city status, having sanctuary city status?
We're not a sanctuary city. We're not going to be a sanctuary city. I mean, that's definitely an issue that is becoming more broad throughout the country. But I mean, in talking with the chief and talking with the sheriff, I mean, thankfully, we have a sheriff department that has been outstanding, and they're able to be able to house people, under ICE and so I'm so grateful for the Teller County Sheriff Department. And I've talked with the chief and he says, he's going to be working with the sheriff at any time that he needs to. So they're in great cooperation.
Thank you. Eric?
In my opinion, a sanctuary city should be protecting the citizens, not non-citizens.
Jerry?
We're too small. We can't handle it. Denver just congratulated themselves for dropping their cost from 180 million to 120 million. We can't absorb it. We don't need it.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
Yeah, I would just like to comment that I think we have a big enough issue already with homeless people not being able to find a place to live, and many other circumstances in our forests. And I think if you look at Focus on the Forest and the job they do, they're out there all the time, and it's a never-ending job to clean up after these folks. So I think we got enough issues. I would not support being a sanctuary city either.
Jeffrey?
Nor would I, for that matter.
Don?
Yeah, I agree with the other candidates. We're just not equipped as a town to be able to handle that. And so I would be opposed to us being a sanctuary city too.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your answers, your response. We had a couple other questions up here, but one of them was asked by our media and the other was identical to a question here. So that'll be our questions that we have from the audience have written down and given to us. So we'll move ahead to our closing statements and we'll begin with Jeffrey. Each one of you will have 2 minutes. So Jeffrey.
Yay, I get to go first finally.
Yeah.
So again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank the audience for their questions. I want to thank again, Steve and Mark for your participation. Also want to take a moment again to thank my family for being here. this community is really at an inflection point. Really, we have to decide what kind of community we want to be. And I really hope that everyone listening to what I've said, to what some of my opponents have said, help frame that for you to help make an informed decision here come April 2nd. You know, I know I said it in my opening statement, but I really want to reiterate that Woodland Park really is a special place to live and raise a family, and we can't lose that. And if we do lose that, then really all we're going to end up being is Clearwater, Florida of the Rockies. And I don't think anybody in this room truly, really wants that. So, you know, I really want to thank everyone for their support, and really get out and vote, please. Whether you want to vote for me or anyone else up here, voting is our #1 civic duty. And we should all take it very seriously, regardless of how you believe or who you support. So again, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Really appreciate the engagement with all the candidates up here. Thought we had some really outstanding discussion, and I hope everyone has a safe drive home.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Tim.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, with a degree in mathematics and working for a bank for 25 years, I can call myself fiscally conservative. And I love this town, I love God, and I love this country. I'm looking forward to continuing to hear the citizens' concern, to be able to working with the city, you know, to bring good governance and policies that will benefit everybody in this town. In the Declaration of Independence, it says that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all these men are created equal. And from there, people, you know, have different life experiences. And so that is awesome, because we're able to bring people together of different experiences to come together to the table and work together to find and support the awesome things that we have in this town. I'm going to support the city charter and the ordinances, the Constitution of Colorado, and the United States Constitution as well. Thank you for your support. We're going to make this town greater, the city above the clouds. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Right, Kelly.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mark, and everyone else for being here and giving us your time so that we can talk with you and let you know what our thoughts are on various topics, as you can tell. Great questions. One of the things that I focus on, and ever since I was elected, was to reestablish and nurture the relationships that we have with our other governmental entities and our businesses, the county, the school district, PPACG, and the other mayors. It's an opportunity to really kind of brainstorm and to share thoughts and resources. And I think it's very important. Yes, we did used to have quarterly meetings, even when I was on staff. And that continued into the time when I became an elected official. And I think we've been talking about getting that going again. And all the different entities came, the county, the school district, the city, fire. We all came together and shared our challenges and really tried to help each other come up with great solutions. I would love to, I will continue to serve you whether I'm elected or not, because I have 2 more years on the council. But I would love your vote. I would appreciate your vote and your confidence in my experience, my honesty, and my commitment to our community, both in my business. I have a small business as well. So I'm sensitive to the things George talked about and was brought up this evening. I thank you for being here. I thank you for your vote and look forward to serving you into the future.
Thank you, Kelly. Eric.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the chamber for putting this on. I think it's important for all of the citizens to have a chance to listen to the candidates. They know who they're voting for. It's important. And part of that is coming to the table. And every invite that I've had during this whole process, I've come to the table. I've never rejected or refused to come to any invitation. And so that's been a big part of what I've been doing. Also getting people connected to me. So our door knockers are telling people to get connected. And that's because you need to understand who your candidates are. I walked through the businesses downtown, not all of them, but many of them, and spoke to them as well, because business is a very big and important part of our community. 2 of them said, "You're the first person to show up in the last 20 years. And so opening myself up to anyone and everyone that comes to me, no matter what their background is, no matter where they're coming from, that has been paramount. Also, as an engineer, I've looked at solving problems, and as a tech support engineer, I'd be dropped into different situations, and when you're losing thousands of dollars an hour, no one cares about what you think other than how do we get this fixed? And so I am focused on solutions. I'm focused on listening so that I can understand exactly where those issues are and going to the root of the problem. And so that's my background. That's what I bring as one of the 4 candidates that will be elected. And so I just appreciate your time and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Jerry.
Looking to the same old ideas and ways of doing business will no longer work. Our city's changing, driven by many self-interest groups who want to shape our city to be the city they want. Just like over 1,300 folks from several self-interest groups came together to preserve the character of our neighborhoods, we can all come together to preserve the character of the entire city we all love. We need a holistic approach, not just a few people on city council or 1 or 2 self-interest groups driving us forward, forcing us to go their way. A holistic approach with all self-interest groups involved in the best way to move our city forward in the face of more changes that we know are coming. I'm part of a self-interest group myself. I'm retired. That's a self-interest group because when I moved here, Woodland Park was a sleepy little old village that we loved. It's changing. So my self-interest group, a lot of people in my self-interest group want the city to stay the same. That's not going to happen. So we have to work with everybody, all the different groups in town, the businesses and others. The way we change should be driven by the citizens. The right people up here can help. However, you down there are the ones to shape our city for the future, not us up here. That's why we need a strong leader who will listen to the people to help solve the issues we face from an independent perspective. When making your decision on how to vote, look to the skills, leadership, communication, negotiation, problem solving as a minimum necessary for your mayor.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, Dawn.
First of all, again, thank you to the chamber and to Steve and Mark and to Deb for putting this on. In the years that I've been up here, one of the things, kind of echoing what Jerry was saying, is that the demographics in such of this town has changed tremendously. And so we need to be able to evolve and move on with that. Having been a Rotarian for many years, they have 2 mottos: service above self, and their goal is to build mutually beneficial relationships. One, I want to serve, and it's not because of me. Service is above me, so service above self. The other part of it is that we need to build. This town has become fragmented so much, and we've lost a lot of those mutually beneficial relationships that we used to have. So we need to work on that, to not only to bring unity back into the community, but to strengthen our town to move into the forward or into the future in many ways. So I think I have the skill sets to be an asset on the city council. Just from my knowledge, sitting in on city council meetings for so many years, from my involvement on planning commission and the Parks and Recreation Board. So I just ask for your vote this April. And if you have any questions or anything, I'm available to answer them. And I'll be available after the forum if you want to speak with me.
Thank you, Don. George.
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you. Thanks, Deb. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for everyone who's attended here physically and as well as online. Growth is coming. Growth is coming to Woodland Park. It needs to be intentional. It needs to be disciplined. I want to represent you, the citizens, as that growth enters into our town. I have the experience, I have the commitment, call it the investment, and the vision for many things that we can do together to tackle that growth, to live into that growth, and to enjoy that. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Terry.
Just have a few more thoughts. It's important to me that we're approving developments that align with the city's comprehensive plan. We want limited growth and well-planned growth, right? I care about why businesses come and go so frequently. I wonder why there are empty, eroding buildings in our main business district. What's your vision for our city over the next 10 years or the next 20 years? How many more tax exempt entities can Woodland Park support? These are all questions I will work to answer because they have to be answered. It's important that we support our local businesses and that we actively pursue economic development for our long-term sustainability as a city. Our deer population, support for our schools, and improving roads are also on my radar. We've talked a lot about a lot of issues this evening. Some of my opponents have very good ideas about the concerns that Woodland Park citizens have. Others haven't been here long enough to understand and care like we do. And frankly, they have other agendas in mind. As a council member, I'll use my skills to draw my colleagues out of their corners in order to compromise, to find good solutions so that Woodland Park wins. If you elect me, I commit to coming to council meetings fully prepared. I commit to being forward-looking and forward-thinking, knowing that the decisions that we make today will affect our community for generations. I commit to representing all of you, whether you voted for me or not. I want to help Woodland Park thrive for all of its residents and all of its businesses. We have a lot to do, but I know we can do it together. I appreciate your vote. Vote for Terry Baldwin on April the 2nd. And if anybody needs a ride to the polls or your ballot dropped off,
Yeah.
reach out.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
being here.
Okay, Steve.
Well, I want to thank you, Steve, Mark, Deb, and everybody in attendance tonight. I'm not a person that's really big on words because everybody knows that I'm a man of action because actions are stronger than words. I love to listen, but at the same time, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm hearing what you're feeling. That's what I'm about. And that's why the community had asked me to run, because they know if something is brought up that, we can get it done. So, like I said, I'm not really big on words. It's all action. And my actions the past 32 years in this community, working with, decades of our kids, help raise half the kids here, as well as, the community raising mine at the same time. But just the concerns that I'm hearing from our community now, that's why I'm here, is because they know that my actions are stronger than my words.
Okay.
So vote for Coach. I'm here and I won't go anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Frank.
My favorite color is red.
Yes, it is.
But no, I want to thank you all for hosting this forum. And I also would like to thank the citizens and the business owners that I've had to talk to for the last 2 years that have helped me along this path. I would also like to thank the citizens and the candidates for taking an active interest in our government. I would also like to tell you that I'm going to continue to support our police and city employees and staff. I'll also work to support a continued effort for our city's water security, finding the best possible way to ensure our future build-out has the water to meet our needs. I'll also support our need for outdoor space. Our city is blessed with surrounding forests and outdoor adventure spaces, and our future should include the Avenger open space. I support the city's plan to acquire this 120 acres. Says this outdoor space will provide our city with generations of outdoor enjoyment. I also support a real effort towards creating an economic plan to better support our local community. We need to keep working together, city council, business community, and the chamber. Together, economic development is the creation of wealth which benefits our community. I would also like to say that's the best we can do for our businesses in our city. Also, I love my city. This is my forever home. I'm not leaving council and retiring to another state. This is my final resting spot. I'm grateful you have allowed me to serve this great city. I do appreciate your continued support for my reelection to the city council. I will put the hours in necessarily to do the job. Thank you and safe travels home.
Thank you. The wonderful thing about our elections, it is a nonpartisan election. So I'm going to assume Frank was talking about his shirt. And yeah, we'll leave
Color red, you know,
we'll
I'm
leave
a
it right
registered
there.
independent.
And so anyway, it takes a lot of guts to put your name in front of everybody. And so I admire all of you for doing that. Thank you, and for standing up and being able to present your views to us so we can make a more educated decision on how we would like our city to continue. You're behind, yeah, you are. I was about to close this thing and unless you
Just make sure they all.
Yeah.
are in the
So,
way that they're sitting.
what we want to do is because you're all looking so pretty tonight, is right up here in the order that you're sitting. We'd like to get a picture of all of you together. And so smile for the camera when that happens. And audience, thank you. You guys were wonderful. Only one time, man. The middle school principal of me had to start to come out. So I really appreciate you guys and what you've done. And there were 40 of you online. Thank you for checking in, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the City of Woodland Park Candidates Forum, hosted by the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you guys for being here, the candidates, and for coming and answering the questions. Good night and have a safe trip home.
So let's hear the candidates.
Okay, I'm here, guys.
Oh, sorry.
Turn off. Get some out of it. Yeah, I got here a little later than I thought, so it was great. Oh, yeah, no, we walked into this.